All right, so let's keep going with this whole procedural stylization or procedural just this concept of procedural thinking where we take a bunch of different, I don't know, skills, concepts, and then we just start stacking them up like layers of an onion or a stack of pancakes. So the idea is you get something like a pattern, like these first few letters of the alphabet. We take a distortion, and then we take the pattern and we mash it through the distortion. It's like the distortion is like a magic spell, and it or a lens, and it just takes that thing and it deforms it, and it gives us this new result. So something like that, right here. I'll go through the actual doing of it. So I create something like this. Like this is my distortion lattice. And other people call them guidelines, right? So, when you draw guidelines on a face, you draw the ball with the cross over it and that, right? Like that's the distortion lattice. If you think about it like that, right? So we can just take that letter A. Oh, except right. We want to trim that. Right? We want to kind of take this whole thing. You know what? I'll even split this down. We'll take this. We'll split this in half. Right. And now we've got all these little sectors. We got all these little square sectors, and we can start thinking, right? So there's, how about we do this in pieces? Because the top part of this, right? I can't just draw like this. That's not how it goes. It does this, right? Like this part has kind of slipped, and that part's kind of slipped back that way. So we can again go back in this thing in pieces, right? So that part goes like that, and this is it's not very elegant because we're not doing this all in one line. We're doing this in pieces, and this really helps. We're only going to do A, B, C, D in this case, just because that's all I got sectors for, right? Well, I guess my D would have to be here. That kind of goes like that. And then we're just going to complete this in little pieces, right? Oh, that's the letter D. Hang on. No. Let's do the letter B. So that one would go like that, and that would go... Well, even this part here, right? This part here, we've got a little bit of slippage. So that has to... Yeah. This part had to get shoved over, and this part had to kind of go back. So we're subdividing... We're subdividing even those little pieces, right? You can keep subdividing all this stuff down into like increasingly smaller and smaller sectors, and each of those little sectors starts to exhibit its own little changes, right? Because if you think about it, right, the sector over here might be shaped kind of like this, while the sector over here, is shaped more like that, right? There's little subtle changes because the lines do something like that. There's a little bit of they're all radiating towards a vanishing point, right? So just because you drew some guidelines doesn't mean, you're done and you can ignore all that. It means, even within the subsectors, right, you can see there's definitely a kind of like this corner here is, right, within this boxed area, right, this corner here is definitely pulling out that way, right? And these two corners are kind of squishing inwards towards each other like that. But that effect is different here. This one, it's kind of pushing out like that, pushing out like that. So it's like when you're looking at a distortion grid, right, you're looking at a distortion lattice, you got to understand that there's like, throughout the entire distortion lattice, there's varying amounts of distortion. And as a result of those varying amounts of distortion being placed over all these little subsectors, this is one of the main reasons why I advocate for taking it in little pieces, right? Because now I can bridge those I got that. I can bring that down and do it in little pieces because I'm having to run a separate calculation for each sector, right? It's like the algorithm changes on every single subsector of the distortion lattice, right? That's doing something like, okay, so then what happens if our distortion lattice is curved? Because, you know, the parts here, like I'd say, let's start like doing some simple ranking of difficulty here. Right? Like I would say like the stuff in the, like if I, all right, we'll take that. We'll just, oh, what? Oh, I'm the item picker. No, yeah, I want the last. Okay, good. We dupe that, send that down there. Okay. I would say, you know, the stuff here, right? This part here, this is like this sector. This would be like D rank difficulty. Fucking easy, right? Because if I drew like the letter R, right? That's pretty much nothing changes. You know, maybe over here, well, now we gotta turn it around because we're seeing the back of it, right? So this would be like C rank difficulty. And maybe here, right? This area gets a little. You know, in fact, I'd even say doing things backwards. You know, that might even be, you know, some freaking B rank difficulty right there. All right, this is C rank, and honestly, like once you start getting to this sector here, where like the R is like half of it is over here, and then the other half is like inverted. Okay, I'm sorry. This sector gets fucking, you know, this fucking sector gets S++ rating, right? Because it's like, you know, God, I got it. This is where doing it in pieces really helps, right? That's fucking S++ rating right there, right? This part here, we start to get some distortion, and it's, you know, it's parallel. It's doing a parallelogram thing, meaning it's doing this, right? It's turned into a parallelogram, and it's backwards, right? So we'll do that in sectors, right? We won't underestimate it. We're gonna take it, and we're gonna treat it with the respect it deserves. The difficulty, we're gonna treat that difficulty with the respect it deserves, right? So, you know, I'd say right here in the corners, right here in these zones, these are the S++ rating, man. These are the S++ difficulty areas. It means that if we were to take this whole thing and we were to look at like we're looking at it on a line graph, right? And this is 0 degrees here in the middle, right? And this is like 180 degrees. So this thing's like, right, negative 180, that's positive 180, right? And the 180 degrees, this is like back here is like this area here, that's 180, right? Here is 0. So that means at like the 90 degree areas, the positive and negative 90 degrees, right? So if difficulty at 0 is like, well, at the bottom, and at the 180, it's like maybe a little bit difficult here, right? Then the difficulty doesn't just raise linearly like that, right? That's not how the difficulty goes. The difficulty is going to be like, right? It's going to fucking go like that. It's going to fucking spike like crazy at the 90s. This is a non-linear, right? It's a non-linear difficulty distribution. And so when we say, hey, let's practice this and turn it into second nature and get it to the point where we don't have to think about it anymore, right? That means that we got to practice it, but we don't just like practice the fucking, what are we going to do? We're going to practice like the easy, you know, fucking D rank difficulty? Are we going to practice the, you know, like just the maybe, are we just going to practice just the B rank difficulty? Fuck no, right? Like what we do is we go and we spend some time on the S++. We're going to practice that stuff the most. So yeah, right. I went and I here, let's go and do this. Take that. I'm gonna dupe that over. We're gonna move that here, and I'll show you how I did that one. So letter R. I like the letter R because letter R has no, like, it's asymmetrical all over. That's why I like it. It's not like the letter O, right? The letter O, you can frickin', you don't have to think as hard. So here, we're going to do the gimmies, right? The gimme is going to be this straight line. So we're going to put it right up there. There's our gimme. It's like the free spaces on a bingo card, right? Then we got these straight lines here, right? So then the next best gimme, I guess, is going to be like that. We're going to just draw that and that. Then somewhere up there, actually, you know what? If these are fairly straight, I'm just going to make them keep here. We're going to do that, and then we're just going to connect it back, right? That one connects back like that. And then, oh, now we've got that arc that puts the two together, but it's kind of parallelogrammed. It's kind of skewed, right? And then this line here, which has to go down there, but then it's got to go and connect up here. Okay, so maybe it goes like, boop. And then when all's said and done, we just take that scaffolding and move our scaffolding aside, right? And there's your letter R. That's an S++ difficulty letter R. It's fucking like that, and then does that, and then right? That's a letter R going around a corner, going around like going around the bend. And you see, the brain doesn't want to do that. Brain's like, no, it's too hard. I want to be fat and lazy and just do nothing. So this is why we practice this part, right? You want to be strong at this stuff, then you practice the S++, or you approach the S++ difficulty stuff, and you do it until you get used to it. Now, mind you, okay, we are living in the age of 3D. We are living in the age of like, oh God, what's that for? The Clip Studio Paint, and they've got like 3D mannequins that you can pose, and then you don't have to do any of this like mind bendery crap. And you know, hey, look, a lot of professionals use that stuff, right? Because professionals have deadlines. Professionals got to get shit done. You know, they need like everything they can get to you know, meet those deadlines. I get it, right? And plus, you know, you're on a budget and whatnot. This shit that I'm doing is stuff for crazy people who do this for fun. Okay. You do this if you're a hobbyist. If you don't have any deadlines and anybody breathing down your neck, fine. Learn this stuff, right? Like me, what I do is I go to the aquarium for fun, and I draw fish that are in motion for fun. Okay? It's crazy stupid, all right? So you don't have to do what I do. There's a lot of professionals who can't do this stuff. They use the 3D stuff. This is something maybe you do for fun. If you're like a madman, it means that when you go there, you're drawing with pen and ink, not even digital, and you're drawing moving subjects for fun, and you don't want to have to fire up a 3D program. So what's this all useful for? Okay, well, okay, fine. These are some other like kind of similar exercises. As you can see, I would draw like an ellipse, but it's like I call it the double crown exercise, because it's like taking two crowns and smashing them together and making a double crown. And so the double crown, the reason I do it is because it's really good for leaves. It's like it's because leaves are okay. The dumb way of looking at leaves is we just say, okay, right. That's the dumb leaf. But really, if you have like a stem or a stalk, right, you have something kind of like this, and then the leaves will do something kind of like this. This actually has to go around like that, and then it will stick out. Actually, you know what? Let's see this from the side. So from the side, the stems do something kind of like this. Like they come out and they go up like that. And then once they're up like that, then they send out their leaves, and their leaves do something like that. because they're trying to, they're trying to hold the light out. They're trying to hold the leaf up to the light and aim it towards the light. And if you have a stalk, and then leaves are going to come out of that stalk, you don't want your leaves to be just like coming out of the top of the stalk like that, right? You want to have something where, your stalk is like so, and then you have, right, one coming out here, and maybe another one coming out here, or another one coming out like this. Sorry, I'll draw them like this, right? So sometimes they're alternating like this. Sometimes they go out together like this, right? You do this. Boop, boop, boop. And plants, okay? The thing about plants is plants are very patterned. Very, very, very patterned. Many pattern. So much pattern, much fractal too. Much fractal. Much fractal, much pattern. And then, the leaves as well, right? If a plant goes and makes one leaf, right? And then there's like another leaf like directly over top, well, this first leaf is going to shade the other leaf. And then, oh no, we've lost some efficiency, right? It's like now this bloody thing, like it can't make use of the surface area here to get all the light it needs. So, plants are going to do this thing where they tile their leaves and they try to move their leaves in such a way that the leaves don't obscure each other. Right? There's a lot of like patterns, tons of pattern, and there's tons of like bifurcation and whatnot. You know what? Let's go on that little detour. Let's talk about some bifurcation. So bifurcation is you take something and then you split. Oh, right, and it can split off like this. It can split off like that. Right? Sometimes you see that kind of bifurcation, and then that might branch off like that. And usually the branch tends to be smaller. Tends to be smaller, not always. And then this one, may branch out like that. And that bifurcation just means two, right? I mean, you want to trifurcate? Go for it. You can trifurcate, right? Right. So this is how you can make really complex patterns. You just fractalize it. Fractals is when you take something, right, and then when you zoom in, you see, oh, it's a repeating version of that. And if we zoomed in on this, we'd see, oh, there's like a repeating version of that. And if we zoomed in on that, oh my God, it's like even smaller. That's what fractals are. Fractals are recursive patterns that just keep doing more of the same thing all the way down. And so the nice thing about fractals, like the amazing thing about fractals, is it's a great way to get complexity in a pattern, and you can turn off your fucking brain. This is great. You can just turn off your brain and let your hands do the work. Right. So now that we're in this whole crown business, the double crown business, right? This is something that I would practice to. You get the idea. You saw what I was doing earlier. I'm not going to repeat that. Waste your time. In this case, right, I would do zigzags in different orientations, right? There's like horizontal orientations and there's vertical orientations. Really, for every single way that you could spin an ellipse, there's like a different set of orientations. And then when I look at leaves, right, leaves often have kind of a V cross section to it. So that's why I do the double crown, right? I do the double crown because not only does the leaf curl, the leaf has its own curl, the bloody thing has its own like V cross section. And the V cross section is not like a straight dumb V like that. Or it sometimes leaves might do that, and sometimes they do that, right? So this is like additional procedural modifiers. And like the mind bend is that, on this side of the leaf, we're looking at like the underside, right? We're seeing like the underside of the leaf, and the leaf kind of like the stalk kind of, the leaf goes and it does something like this. It kind of goes backwards a bit, right? And so we're seeing like the underside of the leaf, and then because it's doing that fucking V thing, right? Oh, now we're seeing like the top side, right? We're seeing the top side of the leaf here. All right. So like that means that when you're painting, right, if you got to paint a leaf, you're gonna have to like paint this with a different color of like, if there's light hitting it, you're gonna have to draw like the subsurface scattering, maybe a more yellowish color. Whereas over here, you might use like a dark green, right? You might use like a more the simple chlorophyll color, right? So this will affect how your painting goes, like. And then the stock that comes off of this thing, it might be, it might not be like this. It might actually be like this, and then that kind of goes back. And the stalk is actually like a curled thing, right? It's like a piece of cucumber, not cucumber, celery. It's like a piece of celery, right? It might have this kind of this C shape to it, right? So we're going to go over this in like, painful detail, because this is what it means to study something, right? When you study something, you go into like the SNCA, you go into the shit that nobody cares about. Right, that's what you do. You get into the SNCA details, and this informs every single brushstroke that you make, every single line that you draw, is because you sat down and you observed and you understood. You really took the effort to like understand what it is you were seeing, and that changes the overall shape of whatever it is that you're drawing. And then let's do some fractal business here, okay? So we go and we take sure. You know what? I'm just gonna. Let's just, here, I got this, right? It's okay. There's some cheats. Like this program allows us a lot of cheating. Sure. Let's say you're a professional, okay? And you're a professional and you ain't got time for that shit. You got a job to do. You got deadlines and budgets. So you ain't got time for that shit. Okay, so I just traced over all that and popped that out. All right. And then, because we ain't got time for that shit, do I really have to explain what I'm doing here? Oh, God. Nope. Hang on. I got it wrong. It's because I'm having to stack several modifiers up there, and I fucking went out of RAM for a moment. Oh, right. And then we can just redoodle this thing. Okay. And then we'll just grab that. Goodbye. All right. Then, now that this has split up, you could go in there and you could even go beep, 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 right? It's like you can draw. As much detail in the thing and fractalize it as much as you want, right? And it starts to look kind of, well, it starts to look really detailed, right? Like this is the thing, is that like just by taking anything, right? Taking any of these, like you can like just draw like a goofy thing. Okay. I ran out of space, but whatever. And then you can, if you do it in one line, under like if you're using concepts to do it under like one line, then it'll let you yank out the guideline that you, oh God, that wasn't even good. That was awful. But I got a job to do. I'm on a stream, well, I'm on a recording right now, and I'm trying not to waste your time. Right, so now that guideline was done with one line, my distortion lattice was done with like one line. Like when we zoom out of the fucking thing, it looks very planty, right? Because the human eye is this thing where it's like the eyeball. If we draw an eyeball, okay, the human eyeball has like this 2-degree cone, right? The fovea. And then, and the thing is, you got like, this is what you use to read letters, right? Your freaking A, B, C, like this is what you use for reading letters. And like, seeing people's facial features and shit, you use that, right? That 2-degree cone. Everything else here is just like, if this is like S++ rank, resolution, HD, freaking 4K resolution. Everything out here is like fucking standard def, baby. Not even standard def, right? Like it's like, D rank resolution. And so the thing is that the human eye will be pointed at something. Like when you draw stuff like this, right? The human eye is going to see a little thing like this, right? In like S rank quality. And then the rest of it, like all this other fucking detail outside just gets DLSS. It gets like NVIDIA DLSS, AI fucking, generated, and it just, your eye, your brain just fills in the rest, okay? It just fills in the rest with like whatever bullshit it can throw in there, and your brain just registers that as like the real thing. So the thing is that with patterns, if your patterns are, I won't say detailed enough, but I'd say if your patterns follow the right trends, if they follow the right magical line bifurcation crap that I showed you, your brain will take the rest of your field of vision outside of that fovea, outside of that 2-degree cone, and it will DLSS the rest of it. And it won't even give a shit. It will think, oh my God, it looks real, man. It looks like actual plants. Like, really, bro? Just trust me, bro, is what the brain will do. So yeah, this is why this stuff is kind of important. Why, you learn perspective, and because the perspective is used for making the distortion lattice, you're going to use that to create your patterns and to distort your patterns, and you can start stacking modifiers, and you can make really complex modifiers so that when you fucking do a doodle, right, you're trying to enhance your doodle power, you start putting skill points into your doodle power, and then you can like bullshit people, right? Because their 2-degree cone is going to lock onto a little detail, and then the brain will DLSS the rest of it, and they'll think, oh my God, this fucking really is so good. So yeah, like that's that's why you should practice it, because then you can actually. It means that when I go doodling for fun at the aquarium and I doodle a fish that's moving around, a moving target, I can just kind of catch the pattern and doodle the pattern out, and people see it and they're like, oh wow, that's really good. And I'm like, how long did that take you? I'm like, 2 minutes. And they're like, what? And so they don't. So yeah, that's all it takes. And I mean, hey, look, if you can do this stuff fast, then I mean, maybe you could do it for a job, but for the most part, I just do this stuff for fun.